All construction champions, it's your host, Ron Newsbaum, and we're here for another amazing episode of Construction Champions podcast. I almost said house because, guys, everybody knows what we're going to say next, and that is because we're burning the damn house down. And that house is your business, your personal life, your relationship with significant others, your employees, whatever any of that looks like, whatever is that defining thing that keeps you from being the champion you're meant to be. We're here to bring on expert guests to help you get over that hump, to learn and go out there. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, drop us a comment, and as always, stay till the end of the show to get my final 2 cents on today's interview and what we talked about. But today, it's just like every other day. We have an amazing guest on here that's here to share his knowledge and help you become that champion. Jonathan, and it's fantastic to have you on the show today.
Ron, thank you. Tremendous wealth of knowledge you have there, energy. I mean, how do you just not show up with purpose? Thank you. That energy is gravitating right through the screen, and I've taken it all in, so I appreciate you for it.
Absolutely, man. I always say, if you're going to do something, you might as well be excited about it. I'm excited about doing this and having this conversation with you. And people just kind of get on podcasts and they're all melatonin about it. And I mean, maybe that's what some listeners like out there. I believe people want to be excited. They want to feel that energy that we didn't. We just need to show up and record this, and we're like, whatever. We'll just put out this product. I feel people want to feel that. So why don't you tell the construction champions out there about yourself?
I will. And I think a perfect lead off that something that's tremendously whole in my heart as a human being, because you said it, who we are as a human being, personally, professionally, it's all the same stuff, meld it together. But there's 3 principles I live by, and it's in our household, and I think we just touched on them, which is don't half-ass it. There's nothing in life a half-ass, right? So when you talk about showing up with energy, show up with energy, man. Don't half-ass it, right? Because the next principle is it's don't be an asshole. Frame it how you wish, but don't be an asshole. I tell this to our children. We have 2 small children, younger. They're 11 and 8, and I tell them, don't half-ass it. Every frame is don't be a jerk. Sometimes I say don't be an asshole. They get it. Because here's the third thing is it's not about you. It never has been, never will be. And you just demonstrated that. You got a choice, folks. You can show up with energy and bring something and leave something with the folks out there, or not. It's not right nor wrong, good nor bad. It simply is. Now I choose to show up with energy and not half-ass it. So thank you for that. I mean, that speaks to who I am as a human being. The resume stuff, I've lived and breathed construction since before I was born. I had the privilege of growing up in a family business. So my father knew that when he had 2 twin boys, he knew exactly what they were going to do. They were going to get into the family business and become electricians. And we did. And that served well. That was a foundational pillar for me that led to a whole bunch of great things in construction, and pivoted through decades of project management and leading multi-million-dollar projects. I mean, that's all the checks and balances. But what that did for me was it set me on a quest to amplify human beings around me. And that quest for never-ending improvement with myself showed up externally and led me to the path today of training, education, coaching. Like today, I'm on stages, I'm in boardrooms, I'm training project managers and leaders how to show up and lead with a people-centric approach. Actually give a damn about the people in front of you, because that changes everything of who you are as a human being. Organically, things are going to go great in construction. That's going to organically lead to profits, but we have it backwards, right? We have it I'm going to drive profits and then look after the people. No, folks, look after the damn people, because the people will grow your business. So there's a boatload about me. I mean, I could spend hours, but that's the LinkedIn resume stuff. That's the website stuff. That's where people are going to learn about all the checks and balances and the widgets and the stuff that they want to know. So, Ron, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think how you explained it at the beginning is That's what it's supposed to be. Like, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
To get shit done. Like,
Yeah.
there's a way to do that. I love that. So I'm super excited for our conversation. So I'm going to dive right in there and I'm going to ask you the $1,000,000 question. And that is, what makes a construction champion?
Is communication chaos holding your construction business back? Emails, texts, and generic tools weren't built for your business. BuilderComms delivers a platform built for construction. Fully branded, custom workflows, and seamless integration, all designed to fix communication for good. From our free forever plan to your own custom solution, we make construction software not suck. Ready to transform your business? Book your free strategy call today.
I just took a deep breath as my heart sort of filled with joy. One of the best questions you can ask, right? And somebody who doesn't half-ass anything in life, somebody who's done the hard work, man, with the discipline, right? I'm not talking about a cocky, egotistical person. I'm talking about somebody who has the competence and the confidence because they've done the hard work on themselves first. Because if I'm not willing to do the work myself, then how can I hold anybody else to a high standard? And I'm not talking from a skill set. The skill set, of course, right? Great. Sure. I want you to be a master in your craft. I'm talking about when you're sitting in the dark in a room reflecting on who you are as a human being, why that matters and how it affects other human beings, how you answer those questions of yourself sets a stage for a champion. Is doing the hard work when nobody else is watching. It's holding yourself to the high standards. It's those three principles, man. Don't half-ass it. Don't be an asshole because it's not about you. And when you can wholeheartedly embody those, that is the pathway to a champion.
I love it, man. This is going to be an amazing conversation because I always say it always starts with you in the mirror. Like, that's where everything starts. If you can't get it right there, how do you expect to go get it right everywhere else? And those are the toughest conversations we'll have. But those are the ones we tend to just glance over and just feel like, well, we're just have these conversations with other people. We don't ever need to have them with ourselves.
Right.
And some people would be like, well, I don't want to be out talking to myself. Well, like, you're the core of everything that happens around you. And if you can't have a serious conversation with yourself, how do you expect to have a serious conversation with others?
Right. Yes. And you know what, folks? Like, sometimes our shit stinks. Right? I love what you say because it's like, oh, I think there's a misconception. It's like, well, in game day, I'm gonna use game day. In game day, I'm gonna step up and I'm gonna, I'll have that tough conversation. No, silly. In game day, what's going to happen is you're going to fall back to your highest level of training. So if you haven't prepared yourself for that, guess what, folks? Guess what? The probable almost certain future is going to occur.
No, I
mean, this is great.
I couldn't agree with that more, coming from the Marine Corps, and I was in the infantry, and like, all we did was train for the worst possible scenarios, the worst events.
Mhm.
So when that happened, we went back to it was second, and not that it was second nature, but it was muscle memory. Like,
Yeah.
there can be complete chaos, all hell could be breaking loose, but we had a foundation that allowed us to operate at a high level. And it's just like everything we talk about in business here.
Yeah, right. I mean, there it is. It's the muscle memory, it's the habits and the routines. Like, I organically know how I'm going to no, it's not scripted. Like, you don't know, right? But you have enough confidence and competence that you've put in the hard work, you've done the training, that when shit's going to come at you hard, you're going to know how to react to some regard. Of course, there's going to be flaws along the way. That's why we have, let's use military terms, AARs, right? Like, after action reviews. Let's see, what did we do right? How do we get better?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
how, because what we see it, I love like where we should be at. But a lot of times what we see is that confidence in the construction industry turns into that asshole.
Yes.
It goes the opposite direction. Instead of being just this humble master of what you do and being able to continue to pass that on, we tend to breed the opposite. And I'm at fault of falling into that bucket for a couple of years in my construction career before I realized like this isn't the path to take us where we need to go.
Right. Right. So if I can lead off of that energy, what I think you're suggesting, and if not, I'll suggest is what happens with that energy is that asshole becomes cockiness, right?
Yeah.
And so we see this a lot. And there's a big difference, folks, between competence, confidence, and cockiness. Like, shit, man, I don't, if I'm going to use I'm an electrician because I'm an electrician by trade, right? So a cocky electrician is going to come in there and go, yeah, man, no problem. I'm going to connect your switches and your lights. I'm going to do it all. And then, by the way, you flip the switch and it's like Christmas vacation. The lights outside go on, right? Right? Like, and then there's competence, right? Where somebody actually has done the work and has the skills and the knowledge to do it. And they have the confidence because they put themselves through hell training, right? Doing the work themselves. So the confidence is there and the competence is there, right? But often we see it more frequently. There's assholes, right? Especially in meetings, on sites, you name it. It's like, this guy's a cocky asshole, right? And they're just, listen, I'm not here to say like don't let your ego take over and I mean I've written a whole book on it, multiple books on it, but I'm an ego guy, right? Like I'm not saying ego's the devil, and I'm not saying cockiness is the devil. I'm saying no, have the knowledge to know how to lean into that. Ego gets shit done, right? Ego is like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to, like it's that motivation. I'm going to go for a run even though it sucks, right? Because it's going to make, like, it helps drive that. And cockiness comes into play in certain situations. I can use athletics, for an example, in my opinion, is like if I'm going to a championship game and I'm going to use hockey, if I'm in a corner, I'm going to use cockiness. I'm going to shit talk the guy in the corner and shove it down his throat because I want to intimidate him or I want to send a message. Like there's a space for it when appropriate, but take a temperature reading, folks. Like if you're going to show up that way every day, all the time, first of all, you're going to burn out. Second of all, it's going to be a short-lived career, man.
Yeah, no, you touched on something that's so important that I think a lot of people overlook, and that's the delivery. Take a temperature of the room and then deliver the message that room needs. Like that was one thing that I learned in my journey was like, it's okay being Ron. I'm a high type A personality. I'm obviously excited. I bring a lot of energy, and that can really dominate the room.
Right.
Well, there's rooms you don't want to dominate. You want to understand the room and then deliver a message that room can receive. Otherwise, no one gives a shit about anything that you say.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that leads into like being the last to speak, listening, right? How do we, when we hear that, I'm going to use a stupid word, actively listening. What that actually means in my world is be present, like not distracted, not attending to the dings and bings and buzzes of our phones and our devices and our watches. It's actually wholeheartedly showing up for the people in front of you and being present. Because that presence, when curated appropriately, once you learn the skills, you become curious and you ask questions, right? Again, there's the type A Ron personality that shows up, and there's many of those energies that come out, right? And some of us have it and some of us don't, and some we pivot through it. Except that, hey man, let's take a temperature reading. Let me just shut up and listen and then lean in with curiosity. Okay, what did you mean by that, Ron? Right? Rather than armoring up and saying, you're an idiot. Why would you say it that way? No, hang on a second. Like until I understand your perspective. But we do the opposite more times than not in construction, right? We hear something and like, Ron, you're an idiot for building the wall this way. But hang on a second, Ron. Let me reframe it in a different question. No pun intended. What do you know about that space? Why do you want to tell me what is that makes you want to frame that wall in that regard? Holy shit! Now I'm gonna learn something.
Yeah, no, and you start to understand how somebody's mind works. Like why, like why is such a great question other than I don't understand why you did it this way.
Right.
It's too, because like when you say that, you're wanting to get their answer, but at the same time, you're putting them in a position where they don't want to answer. So you could just ask the question and drop the BS in front of it and just, why did you do it this way? I want to understand your technique here. And
Yeah.
they were open right up about it, and you're no.
And I teach our leaders and our project managers even more so. So there's a few words to drop, in my opinion, right? First of all, but, because but's a terrible word, right? It just means I don't give a shit what you said before, right? Try. There's no try, folks. You either commit to it or you don't. And if you commit to it and something changes, then be transparent and say, new information came up and here's what I can tell you. Not, I'm going to try to honor that schedule, or I'm going to try to deliver. No, man. Yeah, I can do this based on the parameters I have today. Okay. And then it's like, also to piggybacking what you're saying and coupling that is the whys. When you use the word why more times than not, the way we traditionally use it is, why would you do it that way? We make somebody wrong. You armor them up. You send them into defense mode automatically. So what happens in every defensive mode? What you want to battle back, right? Whether it's look, sport, military, business. Somebody puts me in defense mode. What do you want to do? I'm coming out swinging, man. I'm coming out swinging.
So that's what we're really good at in the construction space.
Yeah.
It's putting people in defense, and then it becomes a back and forth, because then they go on defense and then they're going to attack. Then you feel attacked, and then you push even harder, and it didn't even mean for it to even start this way or go that way.
And then what have you got in the end? You've got two. I like metaphors in church. I think of Rocky 4, right? Drago's and Rocky Balboa standing toe to toe in the ring, at the end of 15 rounds. That was the movie, right? What do you got? You got two guys who are literally killing each other, right? And that's what you just described. They're going to go blow for blow, punch for, oh yeah, you did this, I'm going to do this. It's exhausting. And it's short-lived.
And it doesn't head us towards the end mission, which is completing the project and having happy clients.
Right. So now, guys, every other, okay, so what are you guys talking about? How do we get it? Listen, how we get it right. You change, you reframe your language, right? And start with questions like, what led you to that decision? What made you want to do this? Help me to understand. How do we get there, right? The what's and the how's trigger different mechanisms within the brain. Oh, Jonathan actually really cares. Like, what made you want to put the wall in that regard? Oh, well, thank you for asking, Jonathan. Here's my thoughts on that. Cool. Well, how did you get the lumber there without going up the side of the building, right? Like, now I'm engaging folks. I'm giving a damn. I'm becoming part of their world. And I'm present with them. So trust is going to form. And once you've got trust, man, trust is the currency.
It definitely is. It completely changes the relationships going forward, and you can't backtrack on that. Like, you can't go back to your old ways. You got to continue to build on it, even when things go sideways. We always got to think before we speak is a good terminology to use on a job site and in construction.
Yeah. And it's a muscle, right? It's like going to the gym, man. If I go to the gym once every 6 months, I'm not going to get the results. It's the discipline to do it every day, right? And you say you got to think about it. Thinking about yes, and that's not going to come without its shortcomings. Like, I'm not here to pump somebody's tires and say, oh yeah, it's take a magic pill, it's going to occur. No, man, it's going to suck. I promise you're going to fail. Right? We've lived it, man. I remember there's defining moments in my life, in my career, where I didn't think before I spoke, and there was a hard lesson learned. And it resonates deep. And because of that, you learn different things. It comes from doing the hard work. Take a deep breath, right? Yeah, we hear it, but what's it actually look like? right? And begin. I think Stephen Covey says it in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Begin with the end in mind. What that means for me is like, how do I actually want to show up? And I start by doing the hard work. I start. There's processes I call living obituaries and different things that I co-create so that I know where I'm going to get and how I want to show up, and then everything else is going to flow out of that. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. It does, because it is. It's reps. It's just like anything. You're not going to get good at it overnight. You're going to have failures. You're going to look back and be like, wow, should have done that a little bit different. But the thing is we're getting better every day, and that compounds. And think
Yeah.
about a year from now or 5 years from now, how much better you're going to be at it if you just work. Everything that we taught, like these are tangible assets that you have to continue to work on. And if you don't, you lose them. Discipline, leadership, all of this stuff is stuff that if you're not consistently investing into and consistently developing, you lose it.
Yeah. I look at athletes, right? Because athletes, especially in today's era, I got to use the Tom Brady's of the world, right? Like, arguably I'm going to say one of the best athletes alive, right? And what does he do? Like, consistently to get, as his career progressed the way it did, he didn't sort of like just get to the top and stop, right? Never. He's like, oh, yeah, I won one championship, done. Mission accomplished. And think about like what he did in playing into, whether you like him or not, it is irrelevant. Look at him as a human, as an athlete, right? It's the consistent improvement. It's like he kept digging in and saying, shit, I'm gonna get better on my diet. I'm gonna hire a coach for this. I'm gonna hire a coach for this. And he was, battling through it all. You gotta do the work, man.
Well, I think, like you said, whether you like them or not, I think people hate on elite performers and champions. Like, I'm not that I'm not necessarily a huge Tom Brady fan, but I'm a fan of what he's been able to do and his ability to be able to push the envelope on the status quo in an environment that disrupting the status quo is like a norm just to get there.
Yes.
And he's like, we're going to take this to another level. It's the same thing with the Jordans, the Kobe's, or the LeBron. Like, these guys, whether you like them or not, and the only reason people don't like them is because these guys are champions and they're high performers. They were willing to put in the work and the discipline at a whole nother level than 99% of the word is even willing to, they're not even willing to consider.
Yeah, man. This is exciting, right? Because I want to just hang out here for a second and acknowledge that people hate the general population, and hate me for saying this, folks. It doesn't bother me if you do. The general population hates people at the top, right? They like you as you're getting up to the top. Yeah, go, Jonathan, go. And then when you're at the top of the mountain, oh, must be nice. You have no idea, man. And it gets down to like, don't half-ass it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't half-ass it.
Not half-assing it over time will create the results that most people are looking for. But they end up having multiple days where they half-ass it because they don't feel like showing up. Those are the days that you have to show up. Those are days that are designed to test us. And those are the days that we need to be able to push through.
So, yeah, right. And just one more thought on this is, I tell this all the time to folks that work, but also our children, like, don't ever, 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 and I emphasize it so strongly, wish for something you're not willing to work for. Period. Don't ever say, I wish I had, what are you willing to do today? Right? I wish this guy would react differently in the meeting. Okay, so then pick up the damn telephone and have the uncomfortable conversation. Is it going to suck? Yeah. Of course it's going to suck. Again, our brains are designed to keep us safe, so of course it's going to suck. Don't ever wish for it unless you're willing to take action, because action is where the magic happens, folks.
100%. I couldn't agree more on that, and I think that is a fantastic place to end the episode. Is it all starts with action. So, Jonathan, for everybody listening out there, how do they connect with you, follow you, learn more about what you do?
Sure. Great. Thank you, Ron, for creating the space to do this. I'm a telephone guy, so I share my telephone number. It's 416-717-4139. I'm in Toronto, Canada. I answer the phone. I respond to texts. That's honestly the best way. You can learn all about me. Peoplefirstleadership.ca. You can email me, jc@peoplefirstleadership.ca. Google me on LinkedIn. Google me. I mean, just Google me and you'll see all kinds of stuff show up. I got nothing to hide, folks.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today.
My pleasure, Ron. Thank you for this.
Awesome. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag where we touched on topics that, for anybody that's been listening for a matter of any time, know are near and dear to my heart. I love where we start about having that dialogue with yourself. It matters more than what anybody ever thinks, because you have to be able to answer to yourself before you can talk to anybody else about any of it. If you can't have that conversation in the mirror, you shouldn't be trying to have it anywhere else. If you haven't resolved issues with yourself, you shouldn't be trying to resolve issues for others. This is what our business is all about. As we build them, those conversations become harder and harder and harder to have. And like Jonathan says, it sucks. But that's just what it is when you're consistently pushing the envelope and becoming better and stepping into being the human that you're meant to be. We could all just sit around on the couch and do absolutely nothing. And here's the thing, that will eventually suck as well. So I say, choose the pain now. Do the hard things now, so later on, it doesn't suck for you. So I highly recommend checking out what Jonathan has got going on. If you're interested in having a conversation, shoot him a call, shoot him a text message. Make sure you go out, you check out all of our fantastic sponsors. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.
Tired of losing track of promising leads? Struggling to convert inquiries into contracts? Build 12 is your solution. Over 30 years of industry expertise tailored for contractors ensures seamless lead management and nurturing. Boost your closing rate with ease. Experience the efficiency today. Download Build 12 and supercharge your business growth. Don't wait, act now.
Unlock the potential of property intelligence with HomeTrack. In seconds, generate over 250 data points from a single address using advanced imaging and public data. Streamline property assessments efficiently, saving both time and resources. Enhance your decision-making today. Experience the future of property insights. Engage with HomeTrack now.